Monday night football matchup, we have a game that should be a good one. Seattle at the Giants. So the Giants are favored by 1 in MetLife. The total is up to 47.5. So we're expecting a close game. That's usually good news for DFS, and not a luck ranking game in terms of either side. But I did notice that this game does have the third largest luck total differential of week 4, about 9 points, pointing for the under. Correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And the the biggest of the week happens to be the Broncos Bears with a whopping -21. But you have a lot of courage to invest in either defense doing well. But yeah, this game it's -9. So both these teams have been scoring a bit higher than expected on the season, just based on the play-by-play.
The Giants have barely scored. They scored in like 2 quarters.
Well, they haven't been moving the ball. So yeah.
I think it was 27-17 when these teams played last year. So that was that's 44. So yeah, I could see it. And like both of these defenses don't get pressure. So like I think you get kind of like long drives, not necessarily killed by sacks. Right. So like that, because I've forget like there's a lot of different ways unders can kind of hit. One way is just terrible offense, but another way is defenses could be bad. Just let teams kind of go up and down the field, and then you're not going to hit 100%.
Settle for a field goal,
right?
Things like that, yeah.
And Seattle's been whiffing a few. Myers, I've seen him miss a couple of field goals. Yeah, because I had Seattle in that game against Detroit a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh man, this is possibly the game. It didn't, but
right.
See, yeah, Myers has missed.
He's typically pretty good.
He's missed 3 field goals already. Yeah,
damn.
He's leads the league in attempts, so that's I guess a note. If you usually kickers aren't guys I roster. Maybe sometimes in a cash game, right. But yeah, he leads the league in field goal attempts, and he's missed 3. So you expect that to regress, the percentage to regress,
right.
from 73% to his career average of 85. So that's something to note. But yeah, so could be a little lower scoring than we expect. But that being said, what are you doing with the captain spot?
I am going with Daniel Jones here, just because the 2 games he struggled so far were just really tough matchups. He faced the Cowboys and the Niners, and really struggled in those games. Last week, especially against the Niners, just wasn't able to scramble either. It was just a really bad game for him. But then when he faced a below-average defense, a really below-average defense in the Cardinals, he finished QB1 overall. And he tapped into just his rushing upside, his passing upside with like Darren Waller, Jalen Hyatt. So now that he's facing Seattle, might not be as easy of a matchup as the Cardinals, but certainly a plus matchup. They've given up 320 plus passing yards to all 3 quarterbacks so far. They tend to allow a ton of plays to the opposing team. If you look each of the past 3 seasons, they've ranked either number 1 or number 3 in plays allowed per game. So they're typically a good team we want to target in fantasy anyway. So I just think this is a potential blowout spot for Jones, especially for his rushing upside, which is going to be great from the captain slot. So I like going with Daniel Jones here.
Where do you have him ranked this week?
Oh, way up there. You first.
QB6.
QB5 now.
Okay, yeah, he was my QB5, and then I imported some more data, and Justin Herbert is up 0.4 of a point. Well, 0.04 of a point, not even 0.04 of a point higher than him. But yeah, I have him above Lamar Jackson in a tough matchup against Cleveland, and above Tua in a tough matchup against Buffalo. So
and above Lamar, right?
Yeah, Lamar's the first person. And so I have Jones above Lamar, Tua, and Richardson in Fields. So
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yep. So I got Herbert, Cousins, Mahomes are the 3 guys in front of him, and then Allen Hurts 1 and 2. But
gotcha.
Yeah, Jones he's really popping in my model this week, and I agree. The one thing I'll say though, I actually think we should give him a little more credit for the what he did against the Cardinal defense. I actually think this Cardinal defense is a little better than expected. They're they're what is it? I think they're up to 8th in DVOA. They held the Cowboys to 16, got a game stealing pick there. They played the Commanders close. We saw the Commanders put up a big number against the Broncos, which I mean, I don't know if that's impressive, but yeah, so far you can't really say the Cardinals are terrible. I think they're solid.
No, I had them that game. They were like plus 4.5 or something, and the second half they were just playing a little bit soft. They were up by what 20.
Yeah.
28. It was something ridiculous like that. So I think they just started playing a little soft, giving Daniel Jones a little bit too big of a cushion, and they eventually came back. But yeah, no, I agree. The Cardinals defense specifically has looked a lot better than I expected.
Yeah, and a lot better than the Seahawks too. Like the Seahawks are pretty much bottom of the
Seahawks
have
been dealing with injury. Jamal Adams is back this week, I think, and then Rick Woolen, I think, could return. So obviously they'll get better, but still, you can't deny the fact that they've allowed just a ton of fantasy points so far over the first 3 games.
Yeah, they're just Seattle's a very beatable defense. I wouldn't be surprised if like by the end of the year we're like Arizona is clearly ahead of Seattle in all the rankings on defense. Okay, for my captain spot, I'm going DK Metcalf. This is a man coverage heavy matchup. The Giants play man at the 3rd highest rate in the league. They're always in that top 5 because they love to blitz under defensive coordinator Wink Martindale, and DK Metcalf is the Seattle receiver you want to roster when going against man coverage heavy matchups like this. In 2022, he led the Seahawks with 2.9 yards per route against man coverage. That was 8th of 138 qualified pass catchers according to PFF, and this year he is the Seahawks leader again in production against man coverage. He's got 30 leads him in yards, he leads him in catches. He's got 2.4 yards per route, and the Giants are 28th in pressure rate, even though they're 2nd in blitz rate. So that's perfect for deep shots because you're taking guys out of the coverage. You're taking guys out of coverage to rush the passer, but you're not getting home. So Gino's still going to have time to go downfield. And, these Giant cornerbacks have struggled. So going with DK here should be good to go. I think he got like a rib injury or something like that.
He should be fine though, I think.
Double check that. We're recording this on Thursday, so you never know, but assuming he's good to go, I think it's a really good spot. All right, who do you like for values?
So on the Giants side, I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson. He made his season debut last week and took most of the work, Sterling Shepard would typically see, and also Aiden to Paris Campbell's snaps as well. And there's a chance that he does leapfrog Paris Campbell at some point. And when Wan'Dale's on the field, he was seeing targets. He saw a massive 55% target rate when he was on the field. Obviously, that is not sustainable, but that's something that we have to consider, that when he's on the field, he's probably getting a look. So like going with him here, especially thinking, his routes run rate will only go up.
Yeah.
And then on the Seahawks side, I agree. I think this is a blowout spot for DK Metcalf. But I do want some shares of Jackson Smith-Njigba here. Just because, he's off to a bit of a slow start, which is expected. He's settled in at around a 65% routes run rate. The clear number 3 receiver in this offense. But there was a reason why he was the first wide receiver drafted this year. And he just happened to land on a crowded depth chart. But he's going to have spike weeks just based on his talent alone. And they could happen very soon. So this is a showdown slate where I think it's a good time to just invest in his talent alone, and maybe not wait for the big game to happen, or for DK or Tyler Lockett to maybe miss time. Like, this is a spot where he could have a huge game based on talent alone in his limited role. So I'm gonna have to go with JSN here.
Yeah, it's not really a limited role. He's the 3rd wide receiver. It's just this team does use a lot of 2 tight end sets.
It's like CeeDee Lamb his rookie year on the Cowboys, and they already had Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper. It's just like as he moves up the pecking order, he's just going to become more and more of a stud. So just this is always going to be the worst part of his career, the first few games. And I thought he's looked really good. He was, questionable for week 1. He had the wrist injury. Just I expected a really slow start. So I think right about now is where I think things could start picking up for him. And again, it's going to be tough with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett there, but he's still the clear number 3 target. And at any point, I think we're going to see a big game from him.
Yeah, he's tied with Metcalf for the lead in targets against man coverage with 4. So
nice.
That's also a positive sign given this matchup. And Wandale, the fact that they played him on a Thursday and they immediately just started targeting him, like over even a guy like Jalen Hyatt, kind of got lost in the shuffle, and Campbell, that was a guy who had been getting a ton of targets too, and Wandale kind of jumped them immediately. So I think he's probably going to be a full-time player and the full-time slot receiver going forward. So he's a guy who I would, another one of those guys. I know he's not a rookie, but if you want to invest in like an over now, I think his yardage prop is only going up,
or maybe his receptions.
Yeah, either or. But yeah, he should be on the upswing. Yeah. I'm going with Kenneth Walker III for the Seahawks. The Giants are 25th in run defense DVOA, and the Giants have a lot of touchdown on the ground to each of the number 1 running backs they've faced. They've allowed 4 touchdowns in total to number 1 running backs in the 3 games, and they are allowing the second most carries per game to opposing backfields at 28.3, the 4th most rushing yards per game to opposing backfields at 118, and tied for the 5th most rushing touchdowns per game to opposing backfields at 1.3. So I think this is Walker's a good bet for a touchdown here, and Seattle, even though they're on the road, they could end up leading this game and getting some positive game scripts. So I think this is a good spot for Walker, who leads the NFL in carries inside the 5-yard line with 6. He's also second in carries inside the 10 with 9, and he's converted 4 of the 9 into touchdowns, which is a good sign because last year just 2 of 16 did he convert into touchdowns, and his success rate is way up just overall. It's up over 55%. It was under 40% last year, so eliminating a lot of those, negative runs and things like that. So he's playing really well. Like him in his matchup. And then on the Giants side, he's been disappointing so far, but Darren Waller, got to roll with him here. Seattle is 31st in DVOA to tight ends and 27th in DVOA on passes to the middle of the field. So this should be a spot where Waller is able to produce, and Seattle, again, just right now anyway, pretty beatable defense. And when Seattle gets healthy, I think the corners are going to be the strength with Reek Woolen and Witherspoon. So I think you're gonna see teams continue to attack the linebackers in the middle of the field through the air. So this should be a good spot for Waller. And the Giants team total, 25-ish, which is a far cry from, like you mentioned, those games against Dallas and San Francisco. And, I think so. Maybe we finally get Waller in the end zone here as well. All right, we're going for Dark Throws.
So the Giants side, I'm gonna go with Jalen Hyatt here. He had that disappointing, or he followed up his massive 2-catch for 89-yard game with a disappointing 0-catch game. But he was out there. I think he ran like 13 routes, but that's just going to be the Hyatt experience. Really, he's going to be a boom bust player because he is a downfield threat. So willing to take a flyer on him again here. It's a showdown slate, so this is the time we want to take a player like Hyatt. Like, he could easily just get 1 catch for 41 yards and a touchdown, and you will need him to take down the GPPs here. On the Seahawks side, I'm going to have to be betting on talent again here, and it's Zach Charbonnet. And Kenneth Walker has done nothing to start losing snaps to Charbonnet. I do like your call. Like, I think Kenneth Walker is a great play. But Charbonnet has been starting to see more of the passing down work, mostly at the expense of DJ Dallas. Finally, so if he takes over that role, then it'll be more of a 50-50. Well, Kenneth Walker will still be more of the head of a running back by committee, but at least DJ Dallas won't be eating into both of their work. And then Charbonnet's been eating into some of Kenneth Walker's early down work. And he's just a very talented back. Again, it's similar to JSN where, the landing spot wasn't ideal for his fantasy value, but, Charbonnet is a second round talent. He's very good. So even in a limited role, I think he's the type of player that can pop off a big run, a big catch. He could produce even a limited role. So again, this is another bet on talent on the Seahawks side. He's going to have some spiked weeks based on his talent. So I'm going to go Charbonnet here as a dart throw.
Yeah, I think especially if the Seahawks are able to build a lead, because they were kind of using Charbonnet late in that game when they were up 17 against the Panthers. And did you see that truck that he had by the goal line?
Yeah, I thought he scored, but yeah, like he would just stepped out, right? Yep.
But he still trucked the crap out of somebody.
He's more of they're two completely different backs. Like Kenneth Walker is one of the best backs in the league. Don't get me wrong, but he's more of a home run hitter. Whereas Charbonnet, if you're late in the game and the defense is tired, just send him out there. He's just a grinder. So yeah, I think they just have a lethal combo in these two guys. But it was good to finally see Charbonnet really flash that, that talent that I knew he had last week. But yeah, he's starting to look a lot better, a lot more comfortable. But again, Kenneth Walker hasn't deserved seeing his role reduced at all. But I think at some point they should, just to just limit his reps, and Charbonnet is a really good back to do that and get those hard short yardage situations, things like that. Put Charbonnet out there, but this backfield is going to be legit.
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth Walker's usage has only been going 12 carries in week 1, 17 in week 2, 18 in week 3. So
looking damn good too.
Yeah, they're just trying to run the ball more, which is as they should. But they got good pass catchers. They can run the ball. Just got to kind of withstand those, losing those tackles and whatnot. It's been, aside from that second half against the Rams, it's been working out pretty well for Seattle. I'm going to go with Jake Bobo for Seattle. Yeah, man. 6'4", 206 UCLA, undrafted free agent, had a monster preseason, caught 7 balls for 125 yards, 2 touchdowns in the preseason. Graded out in the top 10 among over 160 wide receivers at PFF in the preseason. And then last week, he caught a 5-yard touchdown against man coverage, no less. So that's perfect heading into this, man-heavy scheme of Wink Martindale for the Giants. And on top of that, Seattle released their number 5 wide receiver, Cody Thompson. So as it stands, they only have 4 wide receivers on the roster. I'm sure they'll elevate someone, but Bobo probably is going to see his role start to gradually increase as well. Just a big kind of preseason hype guy who starting to pay it off and continues to look good in live action. So sure he'll probably be a little chalkier than he should be because he scored the touchdown last week. But I mean, I still think it's worth it on a 1-game slate like this. And I'm just gonna go with another Seahawk. I don't all the Giants receivers are in play, but I don't really have a lean, especially you took Hyde already, Wandale. Those are the 2 guys I think you want to roster the most. But Colby Parkinson for the Seahawks, he's kind of been climbing that tight end depth chart. Will Dissly was out last week, but Parkinson has kind of been drawing even with Noah Fant and in terms of that tight end depth chart. And Parkinson's been looking good as well. 1 target in week 1, 2 in week 1 catch in week 1, 2 in week 2, 3 in week 3. So it means he's getting 4 in this game.
Oh yeah.
But the Giants are allowing the second most schedule adjusted targets per game to the tight end position. Giants, I mean, what else is new? It seems like every year it's an issue. And I mean, they got Okereke now and Kinney. They got safeties. Their linebackers and safeties aren't as bad as years past, but for whatever reason, his defense continues to give up production to tight ends. And I think Parkinson's looking good, and really with Noah Fant let's see. There was Parkinson ran a route. Parkinson was on the field for 63% of the pass snaps last week. Fant 59%. And Fant ran a route on 53%. Parkinson 50%. So Parkinson blocked a little bit more, but that's like almost immaterial. Essentially, Parkinson was on the field more than Fant, and we've seen this in the past too. Even early in this season, like Parkinson was pretty much drawn even with Disley and Fant. Even starting from week 1, it wasn't too big of a gap. He wasn't like a third tight end getting like 5-10% of the snaps. So I really like Parkinson. I think he's going to continue to ascend in this offense as well.
Any idea if Disley is returning this week? I haven't seen him like return to practice or anything, so he might be out again.
Yeah,
he's questionable, but
right. Still haven't seen a practice report because this is the Monday game, so it's the last one. But either way, even if Disley plays, like it's not really going to affect the Parkinson.
True.
He's usually going to play 40 to 50% of the snaps either way. And like I said, he's been playing well, so he's been kind of eating into the other guys anyway. So, but yeah, Brady Russell, I believe, would be the third tight end if Disley were to miss again. I don't think he ran a route. Nope, he didn't run a route. So I mean, he's there. We'll mention him, but not a dart throw, at least for me this week.